Hello there, welcome back to the booth here at Pro Tour Amonkhet. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe with Ian Duke. Hi, Ian.
Hello.
Dude, that Euro joke you made in the last round, that I was in the...
Let's just put it behind
Should I
us.
forgive you?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a lot to look forward to here in round 14. We've got what is going to be a win and in for top 8 here between Martin Müller and Christian Calcano. This is an absolutely massive match for these gentlemen. Let's head down to the feature match area. The players are ready for round 14. Hello and welcome to coverage of Pro Tour Amonkhet. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Ian Duke, and we're all set for round 14 action here in the feature match area. This is a big match between two awesome players. Martin Müller from Denmark. He's playing Teamer Etherworks Marvel for Team Genesis. His seeding at 11-2. His opponent on the other side of the table, Christian Calcano from the United States. He's on Mono Black Zombies, plays for Team MTG Bent Card. And the winner of this match is going to be in the top 8.
Pretty awesome stuff. Yeah, I had the pleasure of interviewing Christian Calcano when he was in the middle of the draft there. He actually, I think, went 5-1 in draft this tournament. Good to see him also having success here in Constructed, leading off with a Dread Wanderer. Nice turn 1 play for his Mono Black Zombies deck. Nice turn 1 play for Martin Müller as well. Attuned with Ether, fetching up a Mountain. This is kind of how both of these decks want to be starting off here. Now, just to give a character of the matchup, Christian Calcano is on the mono black version of the Zombies deck, so it's a little bit more streamlined, but a little bit less capability of interacting with the Marvel deck, especially game 1. So Calcano's going to want to come out swinging with a really nice curve with the creatures and just put as much pressure on Martin Müller as he possibly can. Now, Martin on the other side is more or less an all-in version of the Marvel deck, but he is on that special Genesis version of Marvel that is playing 4 copies of Chandra Flamecaller as well as additional hits, and that could be instrumental in this matchup. You know, that Chandra minus X ability is pretty good at killing zombies, Marshall.
Yeah, I've seen it kill 4, 5, even 6 zombies in one fell swoop. And quite impressive. Martin Müller has a Pro Tour top 8 on his resume already. Yet, he's a young guy. He's only 20. Calcano, he made his Pro Tour debut 7 years ago in 2010. He does not have a Pro Tour top 8 on his resume yet, and I can tell you, I know Christian, and it would mean the absolute world to him to top 8 this tournament, and he is 1 match away from doing so. Of course, these players are both in a rather luxurious position. We've still got 2 more rounds of Swiss play after this, in which case the person who doesn't win this match will still have a chance to get in.
And wow, looks like
Diagram
Martin
Colossus.
Müller missing his 3rd land drop there. He does have a Servant and a Conduit to add to his mana, but yeah, it looks like this is the way Calcano wants the game to play out. Fatal Push takes out Servant and the Conduit here, and oh man, this could be spiraling out of control.
Yeah,
pretty quickly.
Grasp of Darkness there from Christian Calcano.
Grasp of Darkness, rather, yeah.
Yeah, and this one is moving in Christian Calcano's direction quite quickly here. Diagraph Colossus. Ooh, but there's a timely land off the top for Müller. What can he do with it? Well, he's going to try to hit as many land drops as he can. He's going to play a Rogue Refiner, draw a card, and of course he'll get his draw step next turn to try to hit another land. Let's take a look at what he's got in his hand here. Well, he's got 2 copies of Etherworks Marvel. He has plenty of energy saved up. He's already at 8. So there's a pretty good chance that he'll be able to spin that if he could find that land.
And let's see what Calcano has here. Relentless Dead and Diagraph Colossus.
Well, more of the same.
Yeah, I mean, he's able to spend all of his mana this turn, deploy 2 more creatures. Like, this could turn into an untapped land, into Marvel, into Ulamog, or bust for Martin Müller here.
Really could. I mean, the pressure, you mentioned it at the onset there, that Christian Calcano is able to apply is critical to how the matchup plays out. And that one stumble, that one short stumble for Martin Müller could be enough for Calcano to win this game 1.
Also possible, you know, that Müller takes a bunch of damage here and then draws that untapped land and can maybe hit Chandra Flamecaller also off of the Aetherworks Marvel. But, in either case, he's just going to chump block, going to knock the top of his deck and see what he draws
Let's
here.
see if he hits it, Ian. That did not look like an untapped land from here. He does have a Whirler Virtuoso and a lot of energy. Can he make 3 Thopters? Is that enough to keep him alive? Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, problem is he's going to have to spend 9 of his 11 energy in the process, right? And that's going to leave him in a spot where even if he top decks an untapped land next turn, I don't think he can cast the Marvel.
I think he can get away with spending 6, leaving him with just 5 energy left. Block, block, block. Take 4, go to 2.
Ah, yes.
Draw an Ether Hub. Play it. Get an energy. And you guys know the rest. So first he's going to make a Thopter. Of course, a removal spell from Calcano, like, say, a Fatal Push, could absolutely force Martin Müller to use that extra energy and really put him, uh-oh. There's the Fatal Push from Christian Calcano.
Wow. So,
and he is pressing his advantage to the fullest. Now Martin is forced to use up the majority of his energy simply to stay alive.
Yeah, and this might put him with actually no outs on next turn.
Could be. Martin's going to fall down to 2 with just the Virtuoso back. Though, as you can see, Calcano, he's got another Diregraph Colossus, and since he has a bunch of zombies in the graveyard, he's going to get a bunch of counters, though he would prefer to have more creatures rather than bigger creatures. Ooh. Let's see. How about a Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot, Ian?
Okay, so that puts him up to 5 life. Get some energy.
He can make another Thopter, so he'll have 2 creatures on 5 life. That actually does work.
It does. So he can make, he can make a Thopter. He can block the Diregraph Colossus. The Relentless Dead has Menace, but he can afford to take a hit from that.
Looks like he's passed the turn, and what he's going to do instead is use Ether Meltdown.
Ah, I see.
Which is a similar effect here, effectively gaining him life, but also getting him energy.
So he goes up to 4 energy, down to 1, makes a Thopter, goes ahead and blocks.
Yeah,
picks off a creature as well.
Yeah, he did that the last 2 turns.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and slide the advantage bar back a little bit.
All right.
Toward Martin Müller here. Looks like he may be able to claw his way back into this if things go well for him.
Yeah, but let's not forget.
Back.
Yeah, let's not forget the Dread Wanderers there. Miserable draw step there for Müller. Another Aetherworks Marvel. But he's got another Whirler Virtuoso. So 1, 2, 3, 3 lethal threats now.
So Calcano, no cards in hand. Now,
God, he'd love to see a zombie here.
Yeah, or a Lord to pump up those Dread Wanderers. They can punch past the Whirler Virtuosos.
That's right. Still, this is a lethal attack, forcing Martin now to use up his energy. And once again, Calcano says, I'm just going to keep wandering. He brings both of them back. Another missed land here for Müller? Rogue Refiner, draw a card. He hit a land finally, though it's a tap land. Yeah, it looks like he had one off of his draw step from earlier as well. So Calcano needs to get 2 points of damage through. And he will not be able to this turn.
So interestingly, Müller didn't necessarily need to make a Thopter that turn, I don't think. He could have just gone to blocks, maybe thrown away the Rogue Refiner, for example. But it looks like he might be actually trying to take out that Diregraph Colossus with a double block.
He's considering it.
And I actually like this quite a bit because you got to figure Christian Calcano probably just drew a land this turn, so he didn't play anything pre-combat, didn't try to make an extra zombie off the Diregraph Colossus. So it's really tempting to take that out there, but it looks like Müller kind of reconsiders there. I wonder if he if he fully thought that through before making the Thopter, if he would have rather just had the 3 energy than the Rogue Refiner, for example, putting him closer to an eventual Aetherworks Marvel activation.
Yeah, he's got one in his hand.
Because it kind of looked like a snap, make a Thopter, and then reconsider my blocks after that, right? Still may have been the right play, but just makes you wonder.
He drew a Chandra for the turn. Okay, there's the Aetherworks Marvel, but Calcano, thanks to his relentless pressure here, has kept Martin Müller either low or out of energy for the duration of the game. And as we see right now, Martin's on 0. No energy. What do you got? Uh-oh. Crypt Breaker, make a creature, and he's going to go for the win right now. There's no energy, no flyers, and that means that Ormondal is clear to attack. He only needed to get in for 2, but 9 will get the job done just fine, thank you very much. That's Christian Calcano, 1 game away from his first Pro Tour top 8. We're going to find out if he's going to make it there after these messages.
Play Standard each weekend to win special Standard Showdown prize boosters. Amonkhet Standard Showdown events run through July 2nd, now available on Saturday and Sundays. Find a location to play at magic.wizards.com/Standard Showdown.
And welcome back to the feature match area here in Nashville. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Ian Duke, and we've got a pretty intense match here, Ian. This is a win and in for the top 8. The player who wins this match is going to cruise to the finish. And in the case of Christian Calcano, he is now 1 game away from his first Pro Tour top 8. Can the zombies get him there? Or is Martin Müller going to foil his plans and force him to win more? Martin, of course, in position for his second Pro Tour top 8 as well.
Now, we talked a little bit about Game 1, Marshall, how this is a relatively non-interactive matchup, at least from Christian's standpoint in Game 1. But things change a lot after sideboard. Black as a color has a lot to add post-sideboard against combo decks like Aetherworks Marvel. So Christian can bring in Transgress the Mind to attack Martin Müller's hand, maybe take out that Aetherworks Marvel before he hit the battlefield. He can also bring in Lost Legacy to get those Ulamogs and maybe even Chandras out of Martin Müller's library. So a lot more potential there beyond just flooding the board with creatures. But
you can see the grind is real here for Christian Calcano, who played 3 1-drops over the first 2 turns of the game, including a pair of Crypt Breakers. So he's already drawing cards and starting that attrition game potentially.
And this is one of the huge strengths of the Zombies deck, is that if left alone, it can really generate a tremendous advantage off of those Crypt Breakers there. Both, pumping out zombies and just drawing more cards. And if you combine that with the threat of those potent sideboard cards lurking in Calcano's deck, Martin Müller's got to be kind of scared of this growing board presence and card advantage engine, to be frank.
Yeah, it's both of them. Definitely seen a lot of the games play out that way for the Zombies deck, where they have these Crypt Breaker draws where they just lean on those for as long as they are able to, and then amass a huge board, and they usually don't start attacking until they can win in a turn or 2. But this is one of the disadvantages to the Teamer Marvel deck, is that it just really can't apply pressure to your life total in a meaningful way. So Calcano just gets to go nuts with these Crypt Breakers.
So interesting little point there. Calcano could have activated one of the Crypt Breakers' first ability, discarding a card, making another zombie, and then tap that zombie plus 2 others to draw a card.
Right.
He declined to do that, and I think the reason is he was smelling a removal spell from Martin's side, like a Harness Lightning in response would have left him unable to actually draw a card after making the zombie. So Calcano just valuing drawing the card rather than taking the risk of making the extra zombie.
Oh yeah, Calc likes to draw a card. Okay, Dark Salvation goes on the stack here.
X equals 1.
Yeah, he's casting it for 1. So Calcano's going to get a zombie, and then it's going to count how many zombies he has, which is going to be 5.
And this is a really key play here, taking out that Servant of the Conduit, because you can see Martin has 5 mana sources right now, counting that Servant. If he had a 6th mana source plus Chandra Flamecaller, he'd be able to sweep Christian Calcano's board and have a Chandra left over.
Would that be good? Or
yeah, I'd say that's good.
Calcano is preparing for that possibility by, well, A, preventing it from happening soon, but also by loading up his hand with cards off of these Crypt Breakers.
Couple Dread Wanderers coming in here. One trades with Rogue Refiner.
Yeah, just fine from Calcano's perspective. He doesn't mind trading those off. And now we have no permanents on the battlefield for Martin Müller outside of his lands.
Let's take a look at what's in Martin's hand here. So he just played that Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot. He's got a couple Chandras and a Harness Lightning, and I think he just drew a land, there for the turn as well. So he did actually have that Chandra Flamecaller that we were talking about last turn.
Wow.
Don't think he had the untapped land to play it, but even so, really wise for Calcano to go ahead and take out that mana creature in anticipation.
Yeah, I could have bought him up to 2 more turns of having this board state, so that's a bunch of damage or cards, whatever it is that Calcano decides he wants to do.
Now, Calcano certainly in a favorable position here. He's got that Crypt Breaker card draw engine going. He's got plenty of cards in hand, plenty of lands. thinking about how best to keep up the pressure here. He is probably thinking about not wanting to overextend into Chandra yet again. He doesn't know whether Martin Müller has a Chandra in hand. He doesn't know whether Martin Müller has another untapped land. We know he doesn't have the untapped land, but he could very well draw it next turn.
Looks like he's going to activate the Crypt Breaker. He had a backup zombie that time.
And you can see Calcano really
card.
thinking about sequencing and when he wants to use these various abilities, because he has been playing around Harnessed Lightning.
Yes. Ooh, Transgress the Mind, though, for Calcano. And look at that. Pair of Chandras, and there is that Harnessed Lightning that he was playing around.
Yep. And he got what he was looking for with that Transgress. He did get to take out a Chandra. Now, unfortunately for Calcano, there was a second one there as well. And, he sees that Martin Müller doesn't have that untapped land, but neither player knows whether there's an untapped land on top of Martin Müller's library or not.
That seems pretty important. Let's see if Martin can find an untapped land. I think it was a game trail, so no.
Oh,
He doesn't have it, and that buys Calcano yet another turn of card draw or damage, whatever it is that Calcano decides he wants to do. Now, the writing is on the wall, though. Chandra next turn.
yeah. Even
She's
so,
still going to do work, right?
Calcano has now perfect information of Müller's hand. He's got a lot of options. He's been drawing a ton of cards here. He's got Dread Wanderer, which can come back from the graveyard. So I think even if Chandra comes down, I still really like Calcano's position here.
Maybe he'll even find another Transgress the Mind.
Or even Lost Legacy would do the trick here, too.
For sure.
So a tricky decision here. It looks like Calcano has Liliana's Mastery in his hand. He could play that, and it seems silly to play this into knowing that a sweeper is coming up, but he does actually get to spend his mana. He gets that permanent zombie anthem there of giving zombies +1/+1, and he also gets a third zombie that he can use to get another Crypt Breaker card draw activation this turn, so it's definitely a consideration there. Other option is just to attack, which it looks like he is doing here. Get in some damage and save the Liliana's Mastery for after the Chandra activation happens.
Yeah, it looks like that's his plan. Of course, his creatures are pretty expendable at this point, given that he knows that they're going to be swept away here in a sea of flames, which they are.
And there was a nice little attack there from Calcano last turn, too. He did attack into the Lumbering Falls, but it forced Martin Müller to spend his mana there, which meant he couldn't activate the Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot. And, knowing that Chandra is going to come down the next turn, it actually just kind of taxes Martin's mana a little bit. So clever there from Calcano.
On an expendable card anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yeah,
smart.
it was going to die to the sweeper.
Right. Really heads-up play there for Calcano.
And I love that, keeping the Liliana's Mastery plus another Crypt Breaker in hand there to follow up on the sweeper. It's just an awesome way to rebuild his board, rebuild his card advantage engine. And now it gives, I was going to say it gives Martin another tough decision here, but he actually can't minus X Chandra for 2 because that Liliana's Mastery is putting all those zombies out of range of it.
Yeah, the Crypt Breaker could go away, I guess. But instead, it looks like Martin's going to go digging. And use Chandra's 0 ability there. Oh, he's up to 12 energy. He still has that Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot and 23 life. So even though Calcano's maneuvered nicely here, he still feels like Martin's in a good spot.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good draws off of Chandra there. Rogue Refiner, Tireless Tracker, makes a clue now. I would actually say, based on what Martin drew off of the Chandra there, I would say this game is evening up quite nicely.
Interesting, too. Is Martin going to be able to just keep zeroing Chandra for huge advantage? Now that he has a lot of mana going, I mean, he just kind of emptied his hand out there.
Yeah, I mean, Calcano does have enough creatures to force Chandra to die, I think, this turn. If he wants to attack with everything, but
Yeah,
that would
I believe you're
probably
correct.
involve putting the Crypt Breaker at risk, which he may not want to do. So, yeah, it's really going to depend on what Calcano draws with his next 2 draws here. You tap the Crypt Breaker to draw a card, then he gets to untap and draw another card. And, he'll take stock of what his hand looks like and kind of plan things out from there.
Let's transgress the mind off the top. Little late for Calc there.
So in Calcano's hand here, he plays a Swamp. He's got a couple copies of Relentless Dead and a Transgress the Mind. I could actually see him just attacking Chandra with everything here. He would lose his Crypt Breaker in the process most likely, but then he's got the Relentless Dead coming out afterwards. He's got to Transgress the Mind to make sure the coast is clear. And he'd be leaving Martin with Tireless Tracker plus a Clue.
Not a great Transgress the Mind, but I agree with you. It feels like getting Chandra off the board should be a priority, given that Martin has kind of blanks in his hand at this point after having really just played all the good cards out of his hand last turn. And you just keep recycling that with Chandra. That's a very powerful engine.
Especially in combination with the Tireless Tracker and the Clues. That can let Martin really dig through his library very, very quickly. But looks like just the 2 zombie tokens coming in here, and those are going to trade off. It's actually a nice attack, too, there, because it does force Martin to either lose Chandra or lose the Tireless Tracker, and it does so without putting the Crypt Breaker in jeopardy. So I actually like that better than what we were originally suggesting there. So,
well, the downside is that Chandra is still here.
It's true.
Now, Calcano, since he did have 2 zombies, 2 Relentless Dead as the follow-up play, will get to draw a card here off of that Crypt Breaker as well, though.
And the Menace is
he could activate it.
Super relevant here as well, because it's going to be hard for Martin to put enough blockers into play to stop at least one of those Relentless Deads from killing Chandra. So it looks like, Calcano kind of setting up a better 2-turn sequence versus a better 1-turn sequence. But yeah, really, really interesting decision-making so far this game.
Somehow we're at 18 energy now for Martin. All right.
No Whirler Virtuoso one time, says Calcano.
No kidding. But again, that ability from Chandra could just take over here. Rogue Refiner, this looks familiar, doesn't it? Draw a bunch of cards, play all the good ones. Don't be a Tireless Tracker. All right, there's a Whirler Virtuoso.
Wow, okay, this game's really turning around here.
Yeah, 23 energy for Martin Müller.
I actually think things moving in favor of Martin Müller here.
3 cards, 4 cards.
We watched a couple matches last round that played out very similar to this. Both, again, Mono Black Zombies versus Teamer Marvel. And once the Marvel deck can assemble all of these various energy-generating tools here and Planeswalkers, it becomes really difficult for the Zombies deck to push through. There's just that almost endless stream of Thopter tokens, clues, Planeswalker activations, eventually Marvel activations.
All right, well, Calcano has the Grasp of Darkness for the Whirler Virtuoso, but we're going to see a lot of Thopters. You just cash it all in?
Wow. Is that the full 8 Thopters there?
Oh, man. Look at that. 2-turn clock here, maybe even less. Chandra can make some attackers. Wow, this one looking firmly in hand here for Martin Müller.
Send these 2 at Chandra.
So Calcano's going to attack with the 2 Relentless Dead. Little graveyard check there for Müller.
Now, Calcano's got to be careful here because that's a lot of flying damage in the air. And Chandra plus activation, could represent 6 damage, depending on how Martin decides to block. He might just decide to throw away the Chandra, and does, because that's 8 flying damage in the air next turn threatened. Plus, there's a couple blockers back. Plus, there's a Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot to be able to race. So we may just see, Martin just going ahead and flipping things and turning this into a race.
Diregraph Colossus for Christian Calcano. Nice card. Not going to do much against all those Thopters, though. Just 2 attacks away here for Martin Müller to equalize this thing. Martin knows that the zombie deck has some nice spot removal in it, but does not really have a clean way to deal with
Yeah, there's no sweeper or, card like Bile Blight that kills everything with the same name.
Right.
And the Zombies deck doesn't really have any way to interact with or block flyers, so I don't see any great ways of Christian getting out of this mess.
Calcano's going to make a zombie. He does have Liliana's Mastery. But he's got to win this turn.
Yeah, he's got about 18 points of power on the battlefield by my count. Some has Menace.
But there's 2 blockers.
There's blockers in the way. And Martin has, virtual 26 points of life, so Calcano opts to draw instead. What he's looking for, I'm not sure.
Do you think it was another Relentless Dead?
I don't think that's what he was looking for.
All right, and he doesn't find what he needed, and that's Martin Müller equalizing things at 1 game apiece. Of course we're going to get a game 3. When you're playing for the top 8, you got to go to game 3.
Got to make him count.
All right, let's head over to Jerry Thompson from Team Mutiny versus Gerard Fabiano. Both of these players are sitting at 10-3, so they're not in quite as good of a position as our main match, but they're very much live for top 8 at this point, and this match is going to be critical for both of them if they are going to make the top 8. Can also tell you that Ken Yukihiro from Team Musashi defeated Seth Manfield, who plays for Genesis, in this round as well on our back table. So what do you see in here? Zombie, 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 and then a zombie enchantment. Well, things look pretty good from Jerry's perspective. What about the other side of the battlefield for Gerard? Well, a bristling hydra. A very large, very intimidating bristling hydra, but
Looks to me at first glance here, Marshall, like Jerry Thompson's in a pretty good position.
you like Jerry's side of this, huh?
I'm no zombie scientist.
I ran
but
the
that's a lot of zombies.
I ran the number, and it turns out 5 is bigger than 1. Now, the question is, what is Gerard thinking about at this point? What may he have? He's got a Rogue Refiner. Gerard looking very slowly at that card. And he's going to just pass the turn back.
Menace.
You can see the Lord of the Cursed is going to give every zombie Menace. And that's going to do it. Jerry Thompson seals the deal there. Now, he is not locked for top 8 as he has 3 losses still. But he's going to have a couple of shots to make another top 8. Great stuff from Jerry Thompson and Gerard Fabiano. But we've got a little business to take care of here, Ian, on our main table. Who's it going to be? Christian Calcano on the play with zombies to try to get into his first Pro Tour top 8, or is it going to be Martin Müller?
Both fantastic
His
players.
second top 8, yeah.
Both deserving of making the top 8 here this weekend.
Yeah, we first saw Martin Müller burst on the scene with the Dane Blast. That was at the World Magic Cup in 2014. He was on that team, and they won. And he kind of has just stuck around ever since, putting up some really impressive numbers here at the Pro Tour level.
Now, it looks like Calcano has kept his hand of 7. Martin Müller mulliganing, I believe,
He mulliganed, yep.
down to 6.
Calcano has been playing on the Pro Tour since 2010,
Sad.
which, depending on how old you are, makes it seem not that far ago or kind of like a long time ago.
Amsterdam, perhaps? PT Amsterdam?
I think it was maybe, I was gonna say San Juan, but I'm gonna look for you.
Okay.
We got a minute here.
Now, we do have Christian Calcano on the play here in this third and final game. I think play versus draw seems like it matters a lot, from what I've seen in this matchup so far. Really looks like the Zombies deck wants to get on board first and then back it up with Disruption. Whereas when the Zombies is on the draw, especially against a Servant of the Conduit draw, out of Aetherworks Marvel, the Zombies deck might not have time to both apply pressure and then back it up with Disruption. So we'll see how that plays out. Martin, looking at his hand of 6 here, he has a double attune with Ether, no lands.
No lander.
He may decide to keep this, get that one scry. He is on the draw.
God. Glad I don't have to make this decision for Martin.
If he's got a land, within the top 2, it turns into a very serviceable 6-card hand.
He's thinking about how many green sources he has in the deck. He is on the draw, so he gets a scry. If he doesn't see it, he can put it on the bottom. One of the questions I have is, what if you keep it scry and see, a tapped green land? Does that put you in any bad position? You're still okay, right?
I would definitely keep it.
Well, you definitely keep it.
It's not ideal, but...
What I meant was not whether you would keep it, but whether that's good enough.
I think it is good enough because you can go tapped green land, and then next turn you can untap. You can attune for another forest.
So you're still just
that,
not
attune
missing.
Again.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not really missing that much. Wow.
Uh-oh. And he passed a turn back. He has not hit a land. That is the green light for Christian Calcano. He needs to get on the board. Does he have any threats? No, he's got Transgress the Mind. He's got a pretty reactive hand. That is exactly what Martin needed to see to give him even a shot at winning this. Keeps his 0 lander, scries to the bottom, draws his card, says go.
Can you imagine having to make that decision, Marshall? I mean, looking at a 6-card hand, attune with Ether, double attune with Ether. I'm on the draw.
Can't even decide to eat what to eat for breakfast in the morning.
Top 8 win-in match as well. That is high pressure, high stakes.
And the craziest part is that even after having missed, and even given the fact that he's playing a relatively aggressive deck in Zombies, he's not out of this. Calcano has not done any damage to him and has not produced any threats yet. Green source here. He did find one, though it was tapped. We may have a game on our hands here, kids. Hang on.
Let's take a look at Calcano's hand. Now, like you said, Marshall, he does not have a very speedy hand. He was long on Disruption there with double Transgress and Grasp, and Liliana's Mastery also being slow and also out of reach with only 4 lands available. So Martin Müller able to untap, attune for Forest. Forest is played, attune for Mountain. And wow, this may turn into something after all.
What a huge draw for Martin Müller. He ran the numbers in his head, decided, yes, this is the correct decision. Took a turn, but he did hit it.
Yeah, you may see a keep like that, and you may kind of just dismiss it as irresponsible or undisciplined. Like, how would you ever keep a 0 lander? Expecting your top of your library to pay off for you. But actually, that is a very disciplined decision on the part of Martin Müller there, to kind of like you said, run the numbers and evaluate. Yes, this is my best chance of winning. Keeping this is better than going down to a random 5-card hand. I'm just going to trust.
You have to be willing to take on risk to be a great Magic player. And it looks like Calcano is trying to slow him down as much as possible by taking away the Aetherworks Marvels, because those are the ways that he can get super far ahead effectively on mana and blow out. Wow, okay. So aggressive here for Calcano. He's going to use Grasp of Darkness to kill the Whirler Virtuoso, but Martin Müller's going to use the 3 energy that it came with to make a Thopter beforehand. Okay, now we're talking business here for Calcano. He's got Liliana's Mastery, allowing him to attack in for 3, and he's added 6 power to the board. So the pressure is on. Müller needs to hit lands. He's got Tireless Tracker and Game Trail, so that counts. But still, Calcano has a much better board state at the moment, and a removal spell could really clear the way for a lot of damage here. Oh, he's got Relentless Dead. That's going to generate a zombie for him as well.
That Diagraph Colossus is going off, and wow.
Grasp of Darkness too, and now he's attacking for 9. And this one could be falling apart here for Martin Müller. He has gotten there as far as mana goes, but it may be too little too late, and Calcano could be on the verge of locking up his first Pro Tour top 8. Is he too far behind? He has another whirler virtuoso.
What is Martin Müller looking for here? He does have Sweltering Suns in the sideboard if he brought that in, if he hits it, if he hit this turn, if he can survive one more turn and hit it, maybe.
He cracked a clue. That has to be an act of desperation, and that does it. Christian Calcano wins the match, improves to 12-2, and all signs point to him having just locked up his first Pro Tour top 8. He should be cruising to the finish over the last 2 rounds. Fantastic stuff in the feature match area, but worry not for Team Genesis fans. Martin Müller is not done yet. He's still got 2 more rounds to go here to try to lock up his slot as well. Whew, deep breath. Little sip of water. Still got another match going down in the feature match area. This is how it is on Pro Tour Saturday. You know, starting, especially with this round, it just starts ratcheting up the drama, and it will be like that for the rest of the day and all day tomorrow. So let's check in on Yuya Watanabe from Team Musashi. He's playing against Mark Tobias. He's on Team Eureka. And it looks like we're in game 3 here, Ian, of Teamer Marvel versus, Teamer Marvel.
Yeah, I haven't seen too many of these mirror matches on camera here yet this weekend, although I doubt this will be the last one that we see heading into these last couple rounds. But I have to imagine a lot of this matchup is just dependent on who can assemble their combination first in terms of generating a lot of energy and getting Marvel and getting a good hit off the Marvel. And speaking of which, here we go with an activation for Mark Tobias. See what he comes up with. Ulamog is the best hit he can find, but nope. It is a Rogue Refiner.
Probably the 4th best hit he could find.
Still not too bad, though.
Yeah.
Replenishes some energy, gives him a card draw, and he's about to untap here. So if he can generate some more energy here during his main phase, he might get access to another activation of the Marvel very quickly.
Yeah, we have seen that. It is not uncommon for them to be able to end step activate, and by the time it's their turn, have got enough energy going again to just respin. In the meantime, Mark is going to attack with both of his Rogue Refiners, trading one of them off and knocking Yuya down. Looks like to 17. Nope, to 14. There's a Chandra. This one's a little smaller than the Chandras we were seeing in our other match. This is Torch of Defiance. And I didn't quite see what he did there. Looks like he must have plussed. And this is going to be a Glimmer of Genius for Yuya Watanabe.
This could be a big turn for Yuya. Taking a look at his current hand here, it looks like he's been pretty flooded out this game. You know, we did just tune in a few moments ago. He has a tireless tracker there, you know, which over the long term could give him some advantage, but it's not really going to be helpful in the face of that Chandra Torch of Defiance. So a lot of this is going to come down to what he gets off this Glimmer. He scries 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom, draws 2 off the Glimmer. He's going to untap, get another draw step for his turn.
Harness Lightning. And what you see here is Mark Tobias using it on his own creature, only target, and declining to use any energy from it. So he's basically just using it as a way to generate energy.
And now this is still, I think that was still in Mark's own end step.
Yes,
So I was wondering if he was
exactly
going to generate energy and then just use the Marvel right away. But I guess going ahead and casting the Harness Lightning, playing around Sensor perhaps, to ensure that he actually gets that energy, and now just keeping that 6 energy banked to be able to activate the Marvel either at Yuya's end step or in response to some kind of action that Yuya takes.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure he got the energy off of it. And that is a big deal here.
Tireless tracker for Yuya. Looking at his hand here, looks like he now has Ulamog in hand. I don't know for sure that he kept that off of the Glimmer of Genius, but it may explain why he was thinking for so long. Because he has enough lands to eventually play Ulamog.
Ooh. Hello.
But before that, Here comes Aetherworks Marvel.
Yeah, how about Aetherworks Marvel with 11 energy in the bank?
Yikes.
And all of a sudden, who needs creature combat? We've got 2 Aetherworks Marvels attacking each other. Who's going to blink first?
I mean, in theory, Mark could also activate his own Aetherworks Marvel in response, and if he has any counterspells in his deck, threaten to counterspell Yuya's Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure if that's what's happening or if this is end turn. Okay, this is end of Yuya's turn.
He has hit Ulamog, targeting the Tireless Tracker and the opposing Aetherworks Marvel. That will, of course, prompt Yuya to activate his own Aetherworks Marvel, but this may be the only activation he gets. Let's see what he hits here.
Now, if Yuya hits his own Ulamog, it's important to remember that Mark's Ulamog is still
On the
it's still on the stack. It's being cast here because this is in response to the trigger of Mark's Ulamog. So, if Yuya hits his own Ulamog, he wouldn't be able to exile that Ulamog. But instead, he hits Censor. Oh, my God.
He counters Ulamog, but still the damage is done. 2 key permanents taken away, but at least he doesn't have to deal with Ulamog, which was going to be a major, major issue for him. So
Getting your 10-drop Force Spiked is just like the ultimate rub-ins.
he only paid 4 mana for it.
Well, sure.
You know?
But,
All right. Censor from Yuya Watanabe doing serious work for him, though. He does find himself behind significantly here as a result of that cast trigger from Ulamog.
So as I started to go down the line earlier, Yuya does have Ulamog in his hand. He does have a Shrine of the Forsaken Gods as well. So it may be part of his plan here that he's just trying to kind of buy time and get up to the point where he can actually hard cast an Ulamog. Now, he doesn't have a lot of time left here because he's actually already down to 7 life. Mark Tobias with 5 points of power, plus ability to make a Thopter for a 6th, plus, potentially some Aetherworks Marvel stuff going on there, plus Chandra to activate for +2 more damage. I actually think Yuya needs to do something about all that this turn, or else he's actually just dead on board to damage, of all things.
Does seem to be the case. Mark is going to continue the grind, though.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, Mark could have declined to cast that just to deal 2 damage and then attacked for 5. But, I think he's just expecting Yuya to have something. I mean, Yuya's drawn a bunch of cards. He's got a bunch of cards in hand.
Wow.
Would ostensibly be foolish to expect to actually win with an attack that turn. Although, looking at Yuya's hand, I think he actually would have just won.
Would have worked somehow. So Yuya gets 1 draw step that he wouldn't have. Can he do anything with it? It feels like he's so far behind.
Yeah, I mean, the trouble is he can play his 9th land, which is a Shrine of the Forsaken Gods, play the Ulamog this turn. He has to exile Chandra because he's at 2. But the problem is if he does that, he's actually dead to Thopters on board from the Whirler Virtuoso activations.
Mark has this locked up from many different directions, and Yuya's going to have to take some other line of play. It's not every day you're sitting in the seat and you go, God, I hope you just cast Ulamog. If I do that, I just win the game. But here we are.
Just killed you.
Mark saying there, I should have just killed you.
Yeah, I am curious to see if Mark just didn't consider that as a great option, or if he decided specifically against it and now just regrets it.
My guess would be he decided not to. I don't even think it is. I think it was probably the right play, honestly, because he still has Chandra on the battlefield, and even if Yuya does a bunch of stuff that he can still untap, activate Chandra.
Yuya's dead. That's going to do it.
Sure, there
Mark
it is.
Tobias wins that one, and you know what? That's him going into the top 8 right there. That's 12-2 for Mark.
Only done.
And you heard him say, "Would I have won if I did that?" And you said, "I only had lands, man." Just go for it. Wow, congratulations there too. We see the top of our field really starting to get narrowed down as people work their way into the top 8. We're seeing some of the first timers. Welcome back to the booth here in Nashville Martial Cyclists with Ian Duke, and it's only going to get more exciting from here, I promise. We've got a couple of more rounds of standard, more slots to fill in the top 8 as we work our way up to that cut. That is going to do it for this round, though. We'll be back with more after these messages.
Sometimes magic can be a real grind if you want to get right to the top. And sometimes you just have to keep going to events and going to events and going to events and getting just that tiny little bit better and never losing faith that one day you can count yourself among the very, very best. That's what's at stake on Pro Tour Saturday afternoons. And right now, one of the true grinders in Magic history looks like he's into his first Pro Tour top 8. Let's head down to the floor. Brian David Marshall is with Christian Calcano.
Thanks, Rich. You know what? Interviews don't get much happier than this. I've known Christian Calcano for a long time, and I know this was a big deal. Yeah. Tell me what was going through your head as you sat down in that feature match area today.
Honestly, just like try to not think about the moment. Just try and like play as well as possible. Like I know like I haven't been playing great all tournament or anything, but I just wanted to make sure that I focus on the game and just let the rest, like just whatever happens, happens.
Now this is the first time you're, looking at a top 8 here at the Pro Tour. What does that mean for you? You've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? Like, I've been on the Pro Tour forever, and it's just like. Calcano! 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 Like, yeah, it obviously like means everything to me. Like, I've dedicated my life to the game, so I just wanna thank these guys for like helping me get here. Because without them, I just wouldn't even be here. So, yeah, thanks, guys.
Well, there you have it, Rich. A pretty emotional moment here on the floor. Team MTG Bent Card has a player in the top 8, and they're looking at maybe getting Anthony Lee if this can get them to a top 4 in the team series. Get their friend Anthony Lee qualified for the next Pro Tour.
Yeah, I'm gonna win this one for you, Anthony.
Sending it back to you at the desk, Rich.
Yeah. Okay. That was D's plus. I'll give them that. All right. Well, we'll try and recover our composure. He'll come back tomorrow and try and recover his and $40,000 for winning the Pro Tour. Because once you made your first top 8, why not win the whole thing, right? Let's head across town. It's Deck Tech time. To two people with not a dry eye in the house, it is Deck Tech time. Here's Louis Scott Vargas and Sam Pardee. Go on, get out of here.